Oh. Hello, everyone. Hey, how's it going? Hope my internet is good. I've seen heaps of people are in already, which is really, really cool to see. I haven't seen this many people in before a live stream for ever. So this is the first time I've seen it. So we had wait, I just start recording? I'll just start again. So hello, everyone. How's it going? I was just saying that it is super cool to see how many people are in this stream before it started. It's just like mind-boggling. So there was 10 or 12 people just chatting away and talking about some stuff. So I think we've just got some heaps of people asking questions and answering them and having a chat, which is really, really cool because the whole goal of this channel is to build a community. So really, really, really cool to see that. First of all, we'll just let some people join in before we start getting into the nitty-gritty. I'm going to give a quick disclaimer. I am not burning out. This isn't this isn't a reflection of me and my hobby. I'm not burning out. I think that our hobby has just a lot of people who burn out, and I wanted to give some pointers for what I've done in the past to stop myself from burning out. And there's a really easy hobby to burn out in because there's a lot to do, but you can do it real quick, and then you can get bored and burn out. So basically, I'm going to try and talk about that today. While everyone's here, I want everyone to say whether I know there's heaps of people who keep fish as a kid and then don't keep fish for 30 years and then start keeping them again. Has just let's drop a fish emoji or something in the chat if you have ever burned out fish keeping before. And next to it, just write how long you burned out for and maybe a reason why, because that'll help me to try and diagnose not just what I've experienced myself, but what everyone here experiences, because I haven't scripted this. I haven't even written down any points. I'm going straight off the top of my head. So that's the goal today, is to try and, mention it and try and give everyone here some pointers as to, some pieces of advice. I don't know. I think that it's a big issue with our hobby, and I'd like to, try and discuss it. And I don't think that it's not, how do I explain it? It's not like voodoo. It's not something we can't talk about. It's not a bad thing. It's just, I think it needs to be talked about. So anyways, thank you so much for the donation. Brad, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Got HC's here. I saw Kaz is here. Bobby's here. Caden, Aquamate, plenty of people in today. It's just crazy how many people are getting on these streams lately. I say it every week, but it is really just awesome. So I'm finding these streams really, really enjoyable, and I'd be doing them if two people were watching them and just chatting with two people, because I think it's really refreshing for me just to be able to talk to you guys live and answer questions. I really do enjoy doing that. And I think it's good for you guys. I don't know. I think you guys are enjoying it because, it lets us actually have a connection over the internet, which is, I don't know, I'm not trying to sound cringy or anything, but it lets us actually engage with each other, rather than me have to come back to a comment that you posted 8 hours ago to reply to it, and then you might not get the notification from YouTube that I replied to it, and then you'll never get your answer unless you Google it, and then you have to go on a forum. So look, basically today we're going to talk about burnout. I want everyone here to tell me their experiences, and then after that I'm going to do some Q&A. So we'll probably go for, I reckon, a good hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm not planning on recording any videos after this because I know that my voice is going to be absolutely destroyed, but I've got some videos planned that I'm going to record. So so it looks like heaps of people here have burned out before, and so it's super common. Now, I think that with all hobbies, some people are only burning out for 1 month, some people burning out for 5 years, some people burned out 9 years. So I think with all kinds of hobbies, it's really, really common to burn out. And the reason for it is some hobbies take a long time to get stuff done. And most of the time our hobbies involve a project, right? So starting something and then finishing it. And that is what we get the satisfaction from. Now I'll mute this. I have to mute that every time because otherwise you hear every time I get an email. So that's kind of where we're getting our satisfaction from. Now, I'm not like a psychologist. I don't know how, like, I'm not an expert on people, but in my opinion and in my experience, I've burned out before. So I started keeping fish 7 years ago, and I've said it in like tons of videos. So I started keeping fish when I was 13 and now I'm nearly 20. So actually it's probably 6 years, but I'd say I got them for my 13th birthday. And then I kept fish for, I mean, when you're in school, it's kind of a different situation because you're not in full control of like the speed of your hobby or what projects you're working on and stuff like that. So it's not really fair for me to say it and relate it to a lot of people, but I guess you can kind of relate it to having a job. And basically, so I kept fish for a solid year and a half. And in that year, I got up to 7 tanks as a 14-year-old kid. So thank you to my mum who let me do that. And basically, yeah, so I got up to that many tanks. And I think that maybe it was a combination of just being really busy at school and not having enough time to actually enjoy keeping the tanks, and then it kind of becoming a burden. Or I don't know what it was. But after a year and a half, I definitely burned out. And I burned out because I just kind of like, I don't know, I lost an interest for doing what I was doing because of, you know, not seeing results. I think didn't help because you're a kid and it's harder to breed stuff because you don't have as much patience. And I definitely didn't have enough patience to, I might be unstable. Welcome to the KFS live streams where we have unstable internet. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, it's like as a kid, generally I was just really impatient and I didn't have the patience to wait until, I don't know, stuff bred. And I mean, there's like tons of the stuff that I've achieved now, which is, I don't know what, like, I mean, achieving stuff, like just I get lucky breeding stuff. Tons of the stuff I do now, I wouldn't have been able to do as a kid. And basically, so you're not seeing results. Well, I wasn't seeing results. And frankly, it just became a job, like having to clean 7 tanks as well as manage school. And I was doing all kinds of sport and, you know, like it just became heavy and like annoying. So, I mean, I think that kind of story is relatable to a lot of people. Like, yeah, like I'm just going to I'm trying to read the chat at the same time as doing this stream because, you know, like I want to keep engaging with you guys. I'll show you my dog later, maybe. My dog's not in here. But can't wait till someone pranks me and tells me that there's someone walking behind me. That happened last stream and I genuinely thought someone came in. But basically, so that's how it started. That's how I burned out. And that would have been after a year and a half. So at that point, I started with guppies, and I had platies and neon tetras and cherry shrimp and stuff like that. I got all the way up to having German rams, and then I kind of, just burned out. Then it was a year and a half until I started keeping fish again. And when I started keeping fish again, I don't know what it was. I think when you have fish keeping, it's like it's a bug, and it's kind of always there, no matter like whether you have tanks or not. It's always present. It's just whether you can feed the bug. And I don't know, I think that to have an interest in fish, you just have to have this bug. Like I think that everyone kind of shares the same thing. So no matter where you are at life, if you've ever kept 8, 10 fish tanks, everyone's got that same kind of satisfaction somewhere in them. But like, I don't know. So yeah, came back to it a year and a half later. So I was like 15. And that's when I really got back into it. And I never really burned out after that. Like I'd always had tanks, but now I guess in the last 2 years, it's just really taken off for me and for how much I want to keep fish and how I'm trying to like do all these projects. And so I haven't burned out since. Now I don't plan on burning out at all. And I think that because I burned out early, I'm very lucky and I can tell what kind of things are going to make me burn out. You know, how to make the hobby easy for me to keep enjoying it so that I can enjoy it for as long as possible. And there's just a lot of stuff. So that's my story of burnout. And it's obviously not as extreme as some other people. There's some people who've probably bought thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tanks and then burned out and then hated it after because they'd spent all the money and didn't enjoy it. And, you know, so everyone here, I really do want to hear like your stories in the chat, because it helps me try and link together my experiences to someone else's, because like honestly, my experiences are so different to some other people's, and like we can't just go off of what I've experienced. So that's my story. I'm just going to quickly read the chat like a little bit here. My lizard's not awake yet. Do you enjoy fish keeping now that you have experience? So like, yeah. So let's start talking about that, because that's one thing too. Now, you're not going to enjoy something that you suck at or that you hate because you failed at it. Like, now that I've been keeping fish for a long time, and I mean, I've developed, these aren't like the principles that I use for fish keeping aren't mine. Like I've gathered lots of little pieces of information and tried to conglomerate it to be, I mean, what I need in my life to enjoy the fish. Basically, if you suck at something like, and you're not getting results, and it's just really painful and annoying, like you're having ammonia spikes and your fish are dying, and it's just constantly like going uphill and you're never reaching what you're trying to achieve, like that beautiful tank with really healthy fat fish in it, or like you're not able to breed the fish you want to breed, or every time you breed them, the babies are dying, or it's going to be super excruciatingly painful, because you're going to go through moments in time where you think you're on top of it, and then it just comes and hits you all in like a bus, because you had an ammonia spike, or the fish that you bought that you developed an attachment to died, and then like it's going to make you burn out so quick. So I think that now that I have got tons of experience, like I haven't got 30 years of experience, like here we go, I just moved my computer, so trust it to have a bit of an unstable connection. One sec. I'm so sorry, guys. Pretty soon I'm going to be connected to better internet than this, but we'll see. Thank you for hanging on. So yeah, definitely now that I've got more of a grip on it and I understand how to keep fish better, and I don't make the mistakes that I would have made as a beginner, that's a lot more easier on me, and I definitely enjoy the hobby more. Now, we've got more stuff, more questions and things relating to burnout. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is like, how do you take care of 7 tanks? So I've got 8 tanks, not 7, but I'm obviously not going to pull you up for it. I don't care. But I've got 8 tanks, so it's the same like amount of tanks really. And that's another thing. So like as a hobbyist, you're going to want to like, no matter how hard you try not to, you're always going to want more tanks. I think that you'd be like kind of lying to yourself if you didn't want to have more tanks. And yeah, it can get to a point where you just have like a ton of tanks. And basically now I've got 8 tanks, and I've said this in previous streams, the maintenance for those tanks takes about 4 hours a week. It's not an insane amount of time. But it's I mean, it's enough. Like if I had school and stuff like that, I'm sure that I probably would hate doing the water changes and wouldn't enjoy doing that. And you can do water changes solidly twice a week for 6 months, but like once you start doing it over and over again and again, it does become quite a bit of a chore. And there's just some days where you have to do a water change, but you don't feel like it, and that's where it can become also burnouty, if that's a way to describe it. So like that's another thing I kind of wanted to talk about, is the maintenance side of things. Now, as a lot of people here would know, if you've, or like I recognize tons of the names, you guys would have all seen and heard me talk about last week my future plans for my new facility. Now, all that facility is trying to be, first of all, automated, because it's just easier and it requires less time from me. Also, the upfront cost of automating a system like that is like not much compared to how much you're spending on a facility. So it doesn't really like make sense not to automate it. But the main reason for that too is so that I can kind of, let's say, for instance, I have a day where I go, you know what, I'm sick today. I like don't feel good. I don't know, whatever could happen. Like something bad could have happened, and I need to clean the tanks. Otherwise, the fish are gonna they're gonna suffer. It's literally, instead of me having to go in and change water on 60 plus tanks, it's going to be like clicking on a button and the water's changed. So it's mitigating the risk of burning out, because eventually like everyone's kind of destined to burn out at some point. You're going to finish all the projects and you're not going to have anything to do, or maybe the maintenance will get the best of you. But I think avoiding burnout comes down to finding what you really do enjoy in the hobby. Like for me at the moment, it's breeding, and I'm very, very conscious of trying to understand better what I'm trying to achieve all the time so that I know like how to not burn out. Because if I start trying to breed fish that I don't want to breed, well, I'm not going to enjoy it, and then I'm not going to want to do it. Like, and I think people always talk about like having like, this is me relating it to like a work-life balance, but I guess it's like a hobby, so it's a bit different. But like people say you got to aim for like a work-life balance. I think we've got to aim more for not like a work-life balance, but like more a better way of enjoying the work. Like if you really love doing something and you get this awesome satisfaction from doing it, you're never going to like want to have a balance per se. You're just going to want to like do it all the time. So it's about trying to get to that point. Now, I think there's heaps more questions. Like I'm trying to keep up with the chat it's a lot to multitask. I'm really not good at multitasking, but hope that didn't make a weird ASMR sound. This is just some chai tea. I've got tea gang here, whoever's having their glass of tea today. Yeah, it's just a black chai tea, no sugar or anything like that. I don't really get burnt. So I'm just going to read some comments. I don't really get burned out from fish keeping. I've been at a moment when I'm not too happy with it. So yeah, like that's kind of what happened to me in that period of being like 15 up to now, or like I guess 2 years ago, like when I started really like picking it up exponentially. Yeah, like that's just the bug staying there, like on the back of me, not letting me let go of the one fish tank. I've always had just a fish tank since then. So there's actually, in the past 7 years, there hasn't been a period of time where I haven't had a fish tank, but there's been periods of time where I've had like 1 or 2 fish tanks. But yeah, I think like, I mean, I don't want to like pinpoint out people, and like I'm not judging anyone for what I'm saying. I'm just saying what I think I've observed. But I'm like everyone, there's going to be people here who know exactly what I'm talking about. But so I used to watch back when I was 13, 14, and then I'd say around that for like a year and a half, 2 years, I watched Solid Gold Aquatics. Now I'm not judging Solid Gold at all, or like, you know, like I can completely empathize and understand like with a situation like what's happened to her. Now I have no clue what's happening on the other end of the videos, because it looks really, really glamorous being like a huge YouTuber, like people that have like 500,000 subscribers. I don't know how many she has, but like it's a lot, and she's got a lot of success, you know, with YouTube. But I think the story was that maybe like a disease came in and wiped out all of her fish or something like that. And, you know, it is super you can just lose a lot of steam and motivation to do stuff if you have things like that happen, because you kind of got to start from scratch. And I mean, she probably spent like, I can't even comment how many hours she would have spent doing that. And then just to like also have a whole bunch of people behind her, like on YouTube, that would have been like, well, what happened for like 2 years asking about fish. Like, I mean, I can completely understand it. So I think that's the story. I'm not trying to spread rumors or anything like that. There's going to be people here that know. But I think like we can maybe learn from that, like trying to set up, I mean, I'm not judging her. Like, I don't know what happened, but I mean, quarantining and stuff like that, just the basic fish keeping principles to try and, you know, stop that stuff from happening, because that can be just instantly, you know, what happens. But yeah, obviously that's just part of the story only. Like HC Aqua just said, I have no clue. Like, and I'm not trying to like spread rumors or anything like that. So all I'm saying is that, you know, really tricky things as a fish keeper that, like, I mean, that's catastrophically bad, can be really disencouraging. Like that can just cause you to instantly, you know, take your foot off the gas, because yeah, it does suck. But I think that as we keep going and talking, there's going to be a lot more things that I'll remember. Basically, I think that, yeah, it comes down to trying to find what you actually enjoy doing. And for me, yeah, that's breeding. And I know that on other channels, it's people building aquascapes and looking at the aquascapes, they get satisfaction from that. There's other people that, I mean, get satisfaction from being in the community. As weird as that sounds, it's not weird at all, in my opinion. But like there's just tons of ways to enjoy this hobby, and you've got to be really mindful of what that is for you. So, who watched the UFC fight? Okay, it's completely off topic for me to answer, but I haven't watched it yet. But I guess like that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, because I feel like there are videos online on like, I guess I think there is videos on this stuff, but I mean, I'm just trying to spread my experiences with you guys. I think that that's important, and that's like the best thing about doing these live streams is you guys can, understand what I've done, and you can learn from my mistakes, if that makes sense. So yeah, now I feel like, I guess I've tried to, I've tried to cover everything that I've experienced. I can see that lots of people here are talking about like, tons of random stuff, but like, what do we got going on? Because I see a lot of people now talking about a fight. I don't follow the UFC, but yeah, it seems like people are talking about it. Just finally put a fish in my guppy tank, and your videos were a huge help. That's good to hear. Thank you for watching my videos. Yeah, that's why I make them, so that you don't make my silly mistakes, because that's basically where I get all my information from. Is just all the videos on YouTube and me being an idiot and stuffing stuff up. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I really am. Can you keep better fish with other fish like guppies and tetras in a single tank? You can. We talk about this like a lot in videos, and there's like heaps of questions like that. But yeah, obviously, like it depends. I mean, betters might be able to eat fish, and like you just got to be careful. And also, you wouldn't want to keep like 2 male betters together. It's just basic stuff like that. Oh, here we go. Here's a good question. These are the questions I really do enjoy answering, the like the oddball questions, because I feel like you can Google a lot of this. You can Google a lot of the stuff that, like the basic stuff, like whether you can keep fish together. You can just really easily get the answers to that online. But these are the questions that I love answering, and it's might be a bit off topic, but what timber were you going to use for your new tank racks? And like, the reason I like answering these is because, I mean, yes, you can just Google it and find it too, but like it can help. I don't know. It's one of those oddball questions that I really just enjoy answering. So I'm using structural timber with structural pine, which is just like what they use for framing houses. And basically, that is all you really need. Like you can just get the treated stuff, or you can get the untreated stuff too. I'm going for treated because it's going to last a bit longer. But basically, what I'm going to be doing to treat that and use it is I'm just going to put a coat of prime on it, which is just the stuff you use to put on the wood to seal it, and then you can paint whatever color you want over that. Now I'm just going to prime it because it's going to be cheaper, and it's also like not meant to look insanely good. So that's my way of doing it. But yeah, just the I think it's like $4 a meter at Bunnings, and that's what I've used for the tanks I've got now. Now my stands are going to be a different design to the ones that I've got now, but basically the idea is the same, if that makes sense. So yeah. Oh, we got some questions about hydrogen peroxide, which maybe I'm not the best person to ask, because honestly, I haven't bought plants for 2 years, or more like plants for my own aquariums. Oh, not 2 years, 1 year-ish. Lots of the plants I have are propagated from previous tanks and stuff like that. So I haven't really needed to like take them out of the wild, or like, quarantine my plants. The reason I said hydrogen peroxide at the start was because I knew that people were using that. I personally haven't used it, so I can't tell you like a measurement or anything like that. But I know that hydrogen peroxide is cheap. And the other thing that's good about it is that you can, what was I going to say? Basically, as well, I think it's most of the time in really small quantities, it's aquarium safe. But the other thing too is you can use it to treat and kill a lot of like blackbeard algae, which is something that can become very annoying as an aquarium hobbyist. It just gets the best use sometimes. So yeah. Thank you, Bobby, for the donation. I really do appreciate that. Money for the tea fund. That's correct. Yes, I'll buy some more chai tea. Maybe I'll get like a different style now. What sized pine timber framing are you using? So I'm using 45 mils by 70 mils. Sorry, I'm trying not to bore people out. Those are the diameters I'm using. That's just your standard, I think, your standard structural timber size. Here we go. It looks a bit better. Yeah, it's just your standard size, and that's what I'm going to be using for my stands. But yeah, if anyone here too like has more questions about like or experiences on burnout, because that's obviously the goal of the stream, I'd really like you to share your experiences, because I'm trying to talk about my opinion on that stuff. But my male juvenile guppy is missing part of its tails and fins. Also has coloration, but it keeps disappearing. What should I do? It just sounds like maybe it's getting attacked by another fish. Could be fin rot. It could be just a bad environment for the fish. So mainly what you're talking about could be, I'd be trying to add lots of, maybe turn off the lights, like try and mimic nature. It's not as easy as said as done, but like mimic, I don't know. Don't be adjusting too much stuff and try and keep it really, really steady. Maybe there's a video that I made like a couple of weeks ago, which mainly comprises what I like to use to keep stable tanks. And it's just like 7 tips for keeping a stable aquarium. That hopefully could help you out with that issue. What are my favorite bottom dwelling fish? My favorite bottom dwelling fish at the moment are, I don't know if you'd call them bottom dwelling fish, but the plecos, obviously, just lots of the loricariidae plecos. And as well, I really am enjoying the corydories a lot, like a lot. And I've got a lot of plans for breeding them and getting a ton of different types. And at the moment, those are my favorites. First of all, I don't know. I'm not trying to go like make this a corridory stream, but first of all, the best thing about them is they're really, really peaceful. So they go with a lot of fish that I keep, and they don't occupy or like compete for tank space in an aquarium, if that makes sense. They don't go and like try and get in the way of other fish. And overall, you can just put them pretty much in any tank and they do really, really well. So that's, those are my favorite bottom dwelling fish. It's definitely cories at the moment. And also they stay small. I love really small fish. I'm not a big, huge fish guy. How do you keep sustainable tank when you set up peat moss for neon breeding? I think it's, okay, so you're asking how do I keep the tank, I don't know, how do I not add new peat moss? Now, what I would do is you're able to probably get like max 2 or 3 uses out of it. Like, because otherwise it just becomes kind of useless and it becomes a substrate. The point of the peat moss in the neon tetra breeding is to add tannin to the water to lower the pH. But the other thing too that it does is it like dirties it up. So it mimics like a rain. And I've had a lot more better spawning. Like I've tried to use no peat moss to see if I was just wasting my time and money on that. Your spawning's way better. It's just like it mimics nature really well. The reason I say you can only get 2 or 3 uses is you can definitely add it, get a spawn, take the fry out and get another one. And maybe like stir it up to make it a little bit more dirty and, get some more silt in the water. But after that, it kind of like first it loses all its tannins and like the pH becomes more neutralized, especially if you've got hard water. So maybe if you wanted to use it like the 3rd time, add like rainwater or something, or like some RO water just to get the pH down and the TDS and all that kind of stuff down. And you'd definitely be able to use it. But the point of the peat moss I found after making those videos in that series isn't really the pH drop, but the more putting them into an environment where they are going to be able to spawn like they would in the wild. That was for me. Yeah. Well, tons of questions. I've been really far behind. Yeah, one sec. What questions do we have? How do you stay motivated? So okay, this is another good thing because you have to stay in order not to burn out, you have to like I was saying before at the start of this stream, you have to like have a purpose in mind. Now, the way I stay motivated, first of all, was I dropped like more money than I should have on expensive fish that take a long time to breed. So I've got some huge ambitious goals, which to me they're like huge as a breeder, which is to breed lots of those L-numbered plecos. So like I've said before, I'm an extremist. I've got like already 4 different types of plecos. I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to get way more. And basically the reason I've done that is so that, it forces me to be motivated on something that's really, really far away and distant. And that's kind of what's keeping me really driven, is I'm just super consumed by like, okay, I really want to make babies of those fish. And lots of people will be like, oh, you're just doing it for money. It's like, no, I just genuinely love rare fish, and I feel like a need to make more, if that makes sense, so that other people can enjoy them. So that's kind of one way that I'm staying motivated. But the other way is just lots of stuff and challenging myself and pushing rarer stuff or just more expensive fish. Like I can't really say that from experience, but like discus and going up to like dwarf cichlids like your pistos, and even just some expensive rainbows and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So you've got to just put like, the more you push that comfort zone, and like even like you can make YouTube videos to stay motivated, like people do that, and just vlog what they're doing. The more you can push that comfort zone, the more enjoyment you get out of stuff, I find. I've got tons of questions. Kaz, thank you for the donation for the Fish Room Fund. I'm just going to go like back down to the bottom because there's lots I haven't caught up with. Whoa. For Pete Moss, just get some mold. Just get some mold or what? The question is, yeah, so to make, Blake's Aquatic says, to help with burnout, you need to make maintenance easy, no more bucket water changes. That was a great start for me. So yeah, I'm still on like bucket water changes. I don't fill up the tanks with buckets, but I do fill up the tanks with hoses, but I use the buckets for emptying the tanks, which is, fairly annoying, but I'm pretty close to getting out of that. So like every time I do a water change, it's like, come on, like this is like one of the last times we have to do this. And that was what I was talking about before, is, like making it easy on yourself, because otherwise it turns into a huge chore. And that's something that, like, I mean, I don't know how many people here actually really enjoy like, doing laundry and stuff like that. You don't want it to turn into something like that, or like, mowing the lawn for some people is fun and satisfying, but like sometimes you just don't want to mow it. And like, you don't want your fish to be like that. You want it to be like as easy as possible. And you want to look at your fish and enjoy the fish, not, turn it into a job. Because that'll quickly, make it really unenjoyable. Can't you just siphon using the hose as well? No, because I use the garden hose. So, I would invest in something better if I was going to be there for more time, like if I was going to be there for the next 2 years. But, for now, no point. Like, are you getting your new tanks from the place you got your previous ones from? Yes, I should be doing that. It also depends on like when you buy a lot of tanks, negotiations come down, and you got to try and find the best person to fit the job. And, if there's someone else that's going to make better tanks, or, make the same product but cheaper, then like, so I can't guarantee that, but probably. What should I do with worms in my tank? Are you talking about, your standard like internal parasites? Because I think the best solution that a lot of people have come to lately is levamisole, and like I'm not saying like lately people have had that forever, but I think that's where I use levamisole for a lot of stuff, and that's been one of the best things. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna try and find some really cool questions because I know that there was like tons of people that have questions, but it's really hard. Like every time I do one of these little lives, there's like 5 more people that join or something like that. And it becomes a lot to try and answer questions. Any suggestions for plant safe 6 to 12 inch schooling fish, like angelfish? So angelfish aren't schooling fish, but I know I can get the vibe of what you're asking. There's like I think the first thing that comes to my mind, and I don't know whether you'd call this a schooling fish, is rosaline sharks. They're quite decent size, and I know that there's some people that keep them. They could be a really good one, but to be honest, like when I think of schooling fish, I instantly think of small ones, and like in a small tank as well, it's hard to keep big fish. So yeah, I'm just struggling to find a real good answer, but I know there's going to be heaps of people that just like give a real good answer. Do I collect hats? I do not. I just accidentally hoard hats. I think that's how you describe it. I don't consciously go out and try and buy hats and all that kind of stuff. Here in Norway, we have the Danish brand aquariums. Really cheap, secondhand, and built like a tank, lol. So lucky. What would you breed in an empty 10-gallon? So, okay. It depends. I'm going to assume that you only have the 10-gallon to breed stuff. So you're probably limited to just like live bearers or really, really simple egg layers with like a hang-on breeder box attached or something like that to it. I'd go like, if you're going to do like an egg layer and you're going to do the breeding box and do like a batch every month and then add them back to the 10-gallon tank, I'd do like Celestial Pearl Danios because, you can buy like 4 or 5 of them and then start your little school. And, as you grow them up, you can sell them to the local fish store and make like a decent buck. Or if you just want to like fill up a tank, get endless. That's a real good one too. Could you show us your lizard? I will not. It's like everyone wants to see the lizard, but I feel like the lizard doesn't want to see me. But if you guys have bearded dragons, you know that, yes, there's some personable ones. There's ones that like, come up to the front, and when you're trying to give them food and stuff like that, they come up to the front and they want to like eat out of your hand and stuff like that. My lizard is not. He's a little, S word, and he doesn't appreciate being held too much. And I don't know if that's my fault or what it is, but he's he's got personality, but he's not a real hugger. And yeah. Will you be placing your 2-foot tank side on like in the, yeah. Okay. This is a good question too. So okay. As lots of people here would know, yeah, the fish room plans basically to maximize space and the amount of tanks that I can fit into a tiny space, I will be putting the tanks, instead of looking at them from like, how you normally look at a tank and it's got the long side facing towards you, they'll be orientated so that the width side is going to be looked into and they're going to be placed in a rack, because first of all, it makes them really easy to catch out fish because you can get like a net that's the size of the tank. And if I've got like a ton of Danios, which is super annoying to catch out, I can just drag the huge net across to the front and catch them out in less than a minute rather than spend like 2 hours, what I did in one of my tanks. And that was a good lesson to learn. So first of all, it's really easy with that. The other thing too is they don't have to look pretty. They're breeder tanks. They're not like designed for having like aquascapes and stuff like that in there. They're just simply to house fish and spawn fish in and all that kind of good stuff. So just making it as easy as possible on myself, like I said before, is going to make me, first of all, really enjoy keeping the fish, and it's going to help me achieve what I want to do with less work and, hopefully accomplish more than what I'm setting out to do with that room. But, like this is all stuff too that just takes a long time to figure out, and like lots and lots of videos to watch. Like you have to watch lots of videos and, learn from other people's mistakes to get ideas. Like that's not a revolutionary idea, but I wouldn't just have learned that if I was first in the hobby, like the catching the fish thing and also the side on tank thing, So I will be putting them side on, but the 4 foot tanks will have to be, because they're too big to have facing with the width towards me. They're going to have to be like long, which is annoying, but that's just how it is. We have got, I think keeping them in that way is also better for breeding since the fish feel safer. Yeah, I think that's good too. Like one of the other things that I've learned and one of the things that's going to make breeding easier is actually painting tanks. I haven't painted tanks before because, I haven't had like a clear goal of like a room that's designed for doing breeding. I'm going to be painting the underside of the tank so that light can't come underneath it, because where in nature are you going to actually see that? So that's one of the first strategies, but there's also going to probably be borders on each of the tanks, because I feel like a lot of fish, to feel secure, need something to back up to, because otherwise they're just in the middle of like, the Amazon River. And like that sounds extreme, but it's just completely true. Like a fish is only going to breed when it's comfortable. And, fish want to breed. They always want to breed. It's just, making them feel like they, like they can breed. And just those little things, are really helpful. So, yeah. My arms have 2 syllables. Interesting. Must be like an Australian thing, hey? I don't know. Or just a Nick thing. I'm not completely sure. What do you think about glass catfish? And are you going to keep them in the future if you like those? I think they look really cool. And I think they are like a real different fish. And they're probably one of the most like underrated, like kind of oddball fish. Well, no, it's not a good statement. That's a dumb comment. But they are a really cool oddball fish. And like at some point I probably will keep them, but I don't plan on it because I don't feel like, I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be good at breeding them for some reason, but yeah, there you go. I'm saying a lot of ums. Hey, my angelfish just had eggs. What's your thought on when I should take them out? I would take them out. Okay, if there's other fish in the tank, take them out now. As you watch this video or this live, take them out, because if you want to raise them up, they're not going to get eaten that way. But if the angelfish are in there, by themselves, I would probably leave them until they were wrigglers and then take them out, or leave them until like they're fully swimming, as long as you want to do. But if you really need this batch of fry, just take the eggs out and raise them yourself, because, you can't really go wrong unless you don't know how to do it properly. And there's plenty of videos on my channel to learn from. I find applying a vinyl background is easier and better long-term than painting. Yeah, so, okay, I'd really like to get other people's opinions on this. So we're talking about painting the back of an aquarium to, have something for the fish to back up onto, and, also kind of makes the aquarium look a bit better in my opinion. So you can put like vinyl on the back and stick it on, and, that way it's more temporary, or you can paint the back. Now, the reason I'm going to paint the back is, first of all, it's a bit like I don't plan on tearing down the tanks or having to use them for something else. So to me, I'd rather just be more of like a permanent thing. I think too, the painted tanks look more slick and clean. But that being said, it is harder to take off paint if you want to use it for something else. Now, I know that you can get a razor and like scratch the paint, not scratch, like slide the paint off, and, you do risk scratching the tank and stuff like that, but that is an option, and I don't think it's as permanent as people think. So I think painting's better, but I've used vinyls before, and I don't know if they're also, I don't know the costs that are attached with, if you've got 60 vinyl backs, is that going to cost more than a bucket of paint? I don't know. But I think that the paint's the best option from what I'm trying to achieve. But yeah. For breeding, I would not paint a breeding tank. That way you can switch easier. Maybe. I like to do the sides as opaque vinyl because it's easier to light the tanks and still has the same safety effect. Maybe. Yeah, I agree with that. Look, honestly, I think that the way I'm going to do it is paint the bottom, because that doesn't, like, it doesn't matter whether that's painted or not. You're never going to know. So I'm going to paint the bottom. All the 2-foot tanks that are facing with the width are going to have a matte and filter, so that's going to act as a back, and I don't have to paint the back of the tank. And then on the sides, when necessary, I can just put dividers in, which are the vinyl ones that you're talking about. So that probably would be a better option, come to think of it. I wasn't planning on painting the sides originally, but definitely the bottom. Cheap paint and a sample color pot. I like that. Razor blade took me about 30 minutes to remove off a 40-gallon tank. Now, those are the comments that I absolutely love, because it gives you an instant, realization of, like, if I do this, it's going to take me that much time to do every tank if I want to undo this. So yes, I like that. I like that comment a lot. So that's really helpful. Are you not using foam on the bottom? I'm using foam, but I find that the foam still lets light through. So, maybe my foam's just crappy or whatever, but I'm still using the foam just to level out and make sure that we don't have, like, one side getting too much force and, cracking tanks, because that would definitely make me want to burn out, or make me burn out if, like, I came in, there was just, tons of problems. I used Miami beach sand and found a cigarette butts, but it worked well. I hope you took them out. Hey, you definitely did, but I'm just joking. The opaque still lets light spill from tank to tank and lets the fish feel safe. I don't know what it is, but I don't have fun applying paint. Applying vinyl is somehow satisfying on the other hand. Okay, I find that really interesting too, because you think that, like, because it's so slick and clean, the paint, or, like, in my experience, that you'd find that more satisfying, but that's really interesting. What do you use? I saw a question before I just really quickly wanted to answer, and it was, what paint am I going to use? And honestly, I'm not too sure. Probably just like a general paint, like just like a craft paint or whatever. The cheapest option is, because, and if it's on the bottom of the tank, it's to me, it doesn't, like, I don't see it getting wet, so it doesn't really matter. How do I treat beach sand to use in my aquarium? Okay, I would, like, I've never taken substrate from the wild, so I'm honestly not the best person to ask. I think people here are going to have probably a better answer than me, but I know that people bake, like, dirt to, make it safe. That's probably a good start, because you want to kill anything that's in it, really, because you don't really want that in your aquarium. The other thing too is, maybe, like, some substrates can be expensive, but most of the time they're worth it. Like, you're just investing in not having problems. And if you want to use beach sand, first of all, really, really wash it well, and maybe bake it, and then maybe even, like, I don't know, you could boil it, but I don't see that working too well. I don't know. Probably not the best person to ask. There's definitely going to be someone here that's way better at answering that question than me. I hate how YouTube defaults to top chat, where it tries to filter out spam, but it just filters out all the messages, and it keeps replying to messages that don't show up on my screen. I didn't know that happens. That's really bad. That shouldn't be happening, because I'll try to do my best to read out, like, questions that I get asked and make them make sense as much as I can. But, I don't know how to stop that, because that's super annoying. I can understand how annoying that would be. So sorry about that. I would not use acrylic just because it scratches off really easily and is water soluble. That's a good piece of advice. I really like that. Yeah. Someone has a lethargic balance and need tips on what to do. I haven't seen the question, but I'd like to answer it. Do you know Bangladesh? I do know Bangladesh. Yes. I'm pretty, I need a holiday. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like I'm always on holidays, especially since I finished school. It's been, like, permanent holidays now. I think, I don't miss school, that's for sure. But Is there an Australian place that sells 3D internal backgrounds like Joey used on DIY YouTube? Yeah, like I think that most of the time I see those backgrounds are in like the aqua or the reptile one, like cages and stuff like that. So there's some manufacturer of them. Probably the best way to, you know, do something like that is just there'd be like an online distributor of it, but I don't, you know, like there would be someone, or you can make them pretty easily, I thought, or you probably need like a hot wire to do it. I'm not too sure. When am I going to Peru to collect fish? I really want to do that. I've been watching tons of videos on collecting Peruvian fish, and I think I will do it someday. Now, look, I think that the problem with living in Australia and trying to do something like that is our import laws make it really, really hard, but we're also a decent distance away from Peru. So like bringing fish back would be tricky. So like lots of stuff I don't know if we'd be able to bring back from Peru. And I don't know as well how much of the stuff that you catch would be alive. The other thing too is if you go to Peru, you need like, it's not like a big problem, but like you need a ton of vaccines, and like they're just going to give you like 8 vaccines in one day. And I just hate vaccines. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I just hate the feeling. So I'd take all the needles of like, you know, like all the weird diseases that there are that you could get. So I'd take them all just to go to Peru. But one of the big problems is, the fact that I think that it'd be pretty tricky to bring a lot of stuff back. So like maybe one of the better spots to go would be like, if you live in Australia, it'd probably be like New Guinea, but then you also like, you know, risk losing your life. Like it's just, you know, it's not easy to do a lot of this stuff. So I definitely do want to collect at some point. And yes. Would you ever go get wild angelfish and koi cats? So yeah, like I think first of all, I'm going to try and buy them so that I don't have to, like, if I couldn't find them and I really wanted them, I'd probably make the trip to do it. People are talking about better breeding. I would definitely be doing that. I just have to wait till this new facility is done, because when the new facility is done, I was talking about the list last week. I was talking about it. Just in a disappearing act. There's one of like, it's just like a rough sheet of what I plan to do, but like, so that you guys can be, you know, I guess informed on what's going to happen. I plan on doing rams. Like this is just the extra fish I'm going to do, not the fish that I have now. I plan on doing discus, lots of cories, some different types of danios and tetras. I still haven't done the rainbow fish series, which will be done at some point. Tons of different like bristlenose and peppermints and blue-eyed lemons and stuff like that. There's a ton of different things that I want to breed. So, and like, I mean, there's plenty of tank space to do cool stuff like, you know, like bedders and all that kind of stuff, which would be really, really cool. What is Canada and Australia is tough. Import laws really tough. Yeah, like that's, you know, it's a weird hobby, and it is like one of those things that it's annoying, but you know, I can't change it, and I just got to work around it. So yes, got some new people joining in. Betters, you should try and breed them to be more passive so they become better community fish. I'd be trying to raise them as long as I could in the same tank, and I'm probably selling them once they start to become little A-words, and then but I think too, like, probably want to do like, I feel like betters would be one of the ones where you want to do it like low ticket, because like if you breed too expensive, like you can make a ton of betters, and if you make like, you know, like 500 betters that cost like $30 each, I don't know how many people would want to be paying that, because most of the time betters are like the fish that the newbies get, and they don't understand that $30 isn't a lot for a fish. Like they think that like $5 is too much for a fish. So, you know, I think that my best success would come from like, you know, mixing really interesting colors, like a yellow and like a black or something weird, and then like making this really cool looking fish rather than like focusing on like, you know, the value of specific better fish like types. So yes. How do you go about taking care of aquariums and keeping them while you do travel? So the best way is to you have to have like someone that's reliable that you know, can count. And basically you can easily develop like, it's not like developing a system, but you can put stickers on tanks and just like label how much of what needs to be fed. And you can just, you know, fish can go up to like, most fish can go for a week without eating really easily, like they would in the wild. So if you're going away for like 3 days, you don't really need to worry about feeding. But except like for fry and stuff like that, sometimes you can run into problems. But, you know, for like 2 weeks in a row, just find like, you know, maybe you have like a grandma that's close, or, you know, I don't want to make you ask your poor old grandma to come and feed your fish, but like maybe a friend that comes once every 3 days and just gives them, you know, a top up and keeps them alive. And then, you know, as well, like that's where the importance of having, you know, live plants comes in really useful, because, you know, once you start having those ammonia spikes, you know, that you're going to have because you have more food coming in, or like, well, less water changes, the plants are going to kind of like carry it up. So my advice is, first of all, get live plants, but also, yeah, try and develop a feeding system that's really easy to follow, and that'll help you do, you know, the best. How come when you type at insert someone name, it gets highlighted, but when I do, it doesn't? Is there some special shortcut to do that? I'm not too sure. I'm honestly not the best person to ask about all these like little fine YouTube streaming details. I think I've got the YouTube videos on lock, but I don't have the. I definitely am not a master at live streaming, and that's why I'm still on this. You know, looking to get another one, but it's like COVID's been so annoying. Just trying to find like webcams, because everyone went out and bought all of the webcams, and also my internet's annoying. So sorry about that. I think we're cutting out and going in and cutting out. So if you're new to the channel, you got to get used to that. I'm so sorry about that. And I'd like to live somewhere with better internet, but you know, I don't yet. And we're back. But yes, travel is what rough. You want to relax, but you worry. Last week we were on holiday. We had 40 wrigglers with yolk sacs of, I can't pronounce that. I put algae balls and find food. They made it. Congratulations. That's really, really good. You want, yeah, like you want to try and not breed stuff before you leave, because otherwise, yeah, it could be a bit problematic. But I can understand surprise fry. You don't want to like throw them away. Can be rough. One of the things I'm looking into doing is getting cameras as well, like so that you can just, you know, check on the fish whenever you want. You don't have to get out of bed. Or like you can also just be like overseas and just make sure that there's, you know, everything's alive. That's one way to monitor them really well too. And that can help you like not worry and better relax. I hate that in America and other places, arowana and other exotic fish are so cheap, and I'm in Australia, and one arowana is $1,000. I'm surprised. I don't know if we can actually buy arowana, but like I don't know what the price is of macrostoma in like better macrostoma in the States. I'm guessing around a couple hundred, like not $1,000, a couple $100. But here they're $1,000 for like a pair. So a lot of stuff here. Like my dream fish, which is at the moment is the L46 zebra plecos, cost anywhere from about $500 to $650, even more per fish. And that's just simply because, you know, it's like, it's just, first of all, we're not allowed to import it in. So any fish that are here have been bred for like the past 30 years domestically here in captivity. And so like that's part of the reason the price is so much, but also because they take so long to breed, like 3 years to grow them up, and then they have like 7 babies at a time. So yes. Can I put a pleco with 3 corridores? should be able to. Sometimes the corridors can get in their little bit of like, give them plenty of spaces to hide and like caves to go into where the cories aren't really going to go bother, and that should be okay. But sometimes because they share basically the same part of the aquarium, the bottom of it, they can become like a bit annoying and get in their way. And eat their food is another thing too. Like they can outcompete your plecos for food. So like I would try and avoid it. But I mean, that being said, it can be done and people do it. I just think that, plecos are like one of those things that I'd rather enjoy in a solo kind of tank with like maybe some just up kind of tetras and stuff like that. But that's just like my opinion. It depends what pleco you're getting. Like a bristle nose will be fine, but like, most of your meat eating carnivorous plecos are not going to be probably the best. Another thing I was going to quickly mention to everyone is that I'm planning on, I've bought some rapashi foods. So I don't know whether that means anything to anyone, but they are pretty hard to get in Australia. I think that the reason I think they've cancelled a lot of importing here, just that length or that leg of the business. So yeah, you get some like keen hobbyists that really like the food that use it, but I'm getting some I'm getting some grub pie, the green stuff, I don't know, super green, and the morning wood one. I love the name of that one. I wanted to try it. I've heard a lot of people saying it's really good, and the plecos absolutely love it. And one of the things I like about it the most is that now that I've picked up, well, I haven't even talked about this on the channel, but if you follow my Instagram, you'd see that I picked up some L397, plecos, and those are mostly wood eating. And one of the things I like about their food, because it's a gel food, you can paste it on driftwood. So you can take out pieces of driftwood, paste it on there, and kind of like force them to have nutrients and vitamins that, they wouldn't just get from like a cucumber or something like that. So yes. Yeah, sorry, I'm unstable again. 1 second. This is like, I honestly, normally I'd fix up problems like really weak connections, but I just can't control it, unfortunately. In India, arowana are like $15, but cheap saltwater fish like clownfish are 100. Wow. I have plecos and cories together, no problem. Yes, they are bristlenose plecos. Yes, that's probably better. What plants would you recommend for a 40-gallon tank with angelfish? I'm trying to go for an Amazon look, but not sure what to get. I would do tons of Amazon swords because they'll like to spawn on it if you want spawning. I feel like one of the things we don't really think about with the Amazon is it's not really like heavily planted. Quite often there's like kind of nothing around the fish. It's just like sand because most of the time the flow kind of like doesn't let stuff go. But yeah, like an Amazon look to me would be like lots of little crypts, which like this is just what I think about. Lots of crypts, so like some crypt wendais, they get pretty big, but you can get some smaller types of crypts. You can also get Anubis, however you want to say it. And you can put that on the wood. I wouldn't do like Java moss or Java fern. That wouldn't look too good in my opinion, but I'm not an aquascaping expert by any stretch of the imagination. I'm very, very limited, and I haven't really tried to, make amazing aquascapes like some other people have. So yes. Did you have any mates that helped you get hooked on fish, or were you a lone ranger? I'm like a lone ranger. I got hooked because I guess like I'd always had the bug. I think I just like was born with like this weird obsession with like little like critters and lizards and weird things like that. And yeah, like the story started when like I just caught some fish in the creek, and then I kind of like wanted to do it a bit more properly because I actually watched YouTube videos, and that's kind of what got me like addicted to it. So that's how it started. But I didn't have like mates that were like keeping fish and stuff like that. It was just kind of something that I stumbled upon myself, which is, yeah, interesting. But that's how it started. Ooh, we have Vallisneria is great for Amazon tanks. Yes, it is. I love Vallisneria. We have, I can't seem to find, everyone seems to be answering the questions for me, which is really helpful. I love it. No. So like, it's like, if I try and answer a question, it's like we've already got them answered, which is good. I have a 4-foot breeding aquarium with a bristlenose colony and a bunch of guppies, and the bristlenose just had a second batch of fry. Do you have any advice? Honestly, just leave it. The bristlenose will, take care of the babies until they're ready to go out, and the guppies aren't going to be able to fit any bristlenose babies into their mouth. So you seem to be all set up and ready to go. I saw someone talking about before, Zoom-Ed Pleco blocks are awesome for all your bottom feeders. So I don't really know what that is. I've seen like in pet shops, and I can't have a strong opinion on this, but my first impression is probably not great. But I, again, can't like say that I'm like an endorser or hate this product, but there's like those white blocks. They're called like the holiday fish blocks. And apparently they're meant to like slow release and feed the fish. I don't know. I don't think that's a go. If anyone here has used those before, let me know like what your experience was with it, because I'm completely uninformed. I'm going off of like what I've just like instantly thought by seeing that product. But honestly, I don't think it's that good. I hope people understand what I'm talking about here. But yes. Do you have any tips on breeding Corydoras? I've only got tips like, okay, I haven't made a conscious effort to breed Corydoras yet. I've wanted to, haven't got tank space yet, and we're waiting to move. So it's been on hold. Just give this 1 second to, reconnect. But here, I'll try and give you some pieces of advice that I've collected from, watching hours and hours of YouTube videos. So I think that, okay, so like my tips would be, first of all, the cold water change is always something that's really, really useful. These guys, they come from more cooler water. They don't come from like Indiscus water and stuff like that, where it's like upwards of 80 degrees. It's more of like colder water. And so they really seem to be stimulated by, a lot of people talk about like rain, and you can like imitate rain by doing like a 40% water change and filling it up with cold water. That'll get them to go. But one other thing too is the mega heavy feeding. Like these guys eat like a ton of food, like an insane amount of food. And they're one of the fish that I find really hard to bloat. So high protein mixed in with some spirulina and stuff like that, and just like really like get them fat, get the females really, really fat, and then do that cold water change, and they should start to spawn. One other thing too is sometimes coys just aren't big enough to spawn yet. They take quite a bit of time to get to a maturity, like a like sexual maturity, when they're like, I think I'd say about a year old, maybe like 9 months. It could be even earlier than that. But in my opinion, they do take quite a bit of time to grow up, and so they won't start spawning straight away when you get them from a fish store. It could take like a good 6 months to 8 months before they start to be able to that, like, get to that size where they can. So just factor that into your, your plan. But that's, I think, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you. I can't say from a first-hand experience that I've done that. So that's just what I picked up. Yeah, I think everyone's got the same method as me. I think that I really am keen on looking into some of the more rare stuff, like the more rare plecos, not plecos, Corydoras, because I think they are a bit more tricky to breed, and they require quite a lot more little like finicky, things that you have to change and really emulate or like imitate to where they come from. So like I find that a lot of people have success with albinos and like bronze and stuff like that, and even like panda cories and stuff like that are quite an easy corridor to breed, but you know, like some of the really kind of like rare corridors are a bit trickier. My pleco looks like he has a leopard pattern on him. Do you think it might be? Do you have any idea of what it could be? I couldn't tell you unless I saw a photo, but like it depends how old they are because plecos patterns change over time. Like the leopard frogs look more stripy, but then when they get bigger, they have that leopard pattern. Yeah, but when they're young, they have like quite a like stripy pattern over them. So they do change, you know, over time. How are my pisto fry doing? They are doing good. I've like had quite a good success rate with them. I only lost, I wouldn't even say 10%. Like it wasn't many at all. It was just, you know, like when you have like a batch of fry, or the weak ones that kind of get ironed out, which is sad, you know, but often there's nothing that you can do to, you know, you got to minimize it as much as you can. But now they're at that size where like they're about, I'd say, a couple of millimeters now, and they're doing really, really well. So they're at like, I'm feeding them heaps of brine and microworms, and yeah, they're doing really, really good. Yeah, it's just that, see, when breeding fish, one of the most annoying things for me is just that like first bit where like you get the fry and then you have to like, you know, some people have perfect success and they never lose a fry. But like that first bit where you just go, oh, like you have to lose like 2 or 3 and it's just like super sad. But that's how, you know, that's just how it is most of the time. And yeah, like unless you're like an expert, mega good breeder. So I think I have done, I don't know, I feel like I've kind of done everything I wanted to in this stream. Yeah, the goal was to talk about burnout and hopefully have as little, like the strongest connection to the internet as possible, but where it's not doing too well today. Here, give this 1 second. Yeah, so I feel like I've done a pretty decent job to, you know, cover everything that I wanted to cover about burnout. And yeah, like I think mainly it comes down to, like I said, it comes down to trying to figure out what you're doing, like why you're keeping fish. And once you figure out, like, you know, what you enjoy with the hobby, it just becomes a lot, you know, a lot easier to not burn out because you can try and prevent, you know, like a lot of things that are going to make you burn out, like tons of, you know, maintenance and, you know, big accidents and stuff like that. So I feel like I've done, you know, tried to give that message to you guys. If you have any more questions, I would really, really like to, you know, try and answer them if I can. But happy birthday, Braxton. Yeah, I think I've said that right. But I'm sure your live streams and videos help a lot of people stay motivated. I'd hope so. You know, like I think that yeah, if you can, like, I wouldn't like to, I'd like everyone to be able to enjoy the fish keeping on their like own accord. But if I do help people stay motivated and, you know, get inspiration to do things, then I'd really, you know, I'm happy that I can do that. But I think HC Aqua, who makes other videos as well, he says that I burn out after posting every video, lol. And that's one of the other things too. Like, I think that's another ballpark, and that's a whole nother thing. Is the YouTube side is like completely different from the actual hobby side. So that can also be, it's the same principles to not burning out, you know, knowing your limits, you know, all that kind of stuff, but you can burn out doing that too. So I think that I might wrap this up in a minute. My voice is getting to that point where it's like, you know, I've talked about it where the ears get really, really weird, but will you keep any tanks at home for enjoying them, or will they all go to the new facility? So that's a question I've got heaps lately. And basically, I'm not planning on keeping any tanks at my house, and it's simply because I said it in the last stream. I kind of want space from like always having tanks around me, because for the past 7 years I've just constantly had tanks at home, and I'd like to contain everything in one spot. And that might just sound really weird to some people, but I think that, you know, having everything somewhere else is going to be beneficial to me being sane, having that many aquariums. Like, it's going to be a lot to take on, and a big responsibility. And I want to treat it like, I want to be able to come home and go, okay, all of the responsibility somewhere else, if that makes sense. I don't want to like have to worry about cleaning tanks in 2 spots and maintaining tanks in 2 spots, if that makes sense. So yes, but I think that I'll probably wrap this up. If anyone has any questions, I'd really like to, answer them. But I've had a real good time today. I hope that, everyone came and got what they needed from this stream. But yes, I'm planning on setting up a 20-gallon tank with a pair of strawberry bedders and chili raspberries. Any other ideas for the tank? I am not too sure. Maybe another like micro raspbora, but yeah, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think I'll probably wrap this up here. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And like, there's heaps of, every week I say this, but there's, 5 or 6 new people that come and join in. I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much, everyone, for, listening. I really appreciate that. And I'll see you guys like next weekend. I think it'll be Sunday as well. So yeah, I've got probably a really, really busy week. I'm not too sure what video is going to come out and when. I'll keep uploading every Sunday, like it says on the channel banner. But I think that, like I said in the last couple of streams, it's probably going to have to, as this new facility is being built, videos take time, and that time's going to become, that time's going to be spent on the breeding facility. It just needs to be. So thank you, Bobby, everyone here. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you guys next weekend. Let's see.